All right, looks like we're on. Okay, good morning. Happy Monday to everybody. We're going to have a pretty straightforward, short and sweet all hands meeting today. So on our agenda, I am actually going to walk you through a couple of the storyboards and a bit of like the vision for how we want to start to evolve NFTs over time. We've really been trying to center around what is the story here and what's the message, because in large part, we're going to get a new flood of users when we do this pretty large NFT charity sale in June. So we want to make sure that that new user experience is as easy to understand as possible. So, we need a pretty big refresh on our website, as well as all the different materials we're putting together for like our pitch decks and partnership decks, etc. So I'm going to walk through some of the rough concept work that we're doing with Christian, Christopher, a number of folks on a design side. And yeah, can you guys see my screen okay?
Yeah, I can see
my
it.
mirror board.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
All right, cool. So yeah, there's a few key pieces here. One is, what's the product story that we want to tell and to explain, hey, this is the most... Oh, yes.
Can you zoom in so we can see it, though?
Oh, yeah. Sorry,
Thanks.
I was giving a bit of a preamble first before I did that. So yeah, the storyboard is essentially, okay, how can we explain what we're trying to do and what the product focus is to someone that just has like 30 seconds to take a look at what Leyline is? And so what we want to try to do is say, okay, in its very most simplistic form, it's about collecting NFTs by earning them and then creating your identity, which is essentially you as a hero. Like, that's the core theme. And so this idea of that NFTs are exploding. They're all over the place. There's art NFTs, there's music NFTs, there's gaming NFTs. And so the challenge is, with this whole flood in the market, what are the NFTs that actually have real value behind them? And it's starting to evolve in that it's not just about having a JPEG or an MP3 or whatever. It's got to have some experience tied to it, or some kind of attachment to some value add activity. So Leyline NFTs are backed by the value of doing real world good things. And so this idea of, okay, if it's backed by doing real good things, what does it actually represent in the digital world? So it's why we're focusing so much on this sense of identity, your avatar, your hero, your companions, and taking that into the metaverse as your identity and a social mechanism. So how do we make that super cool? We want to make them as like badass as possible. So some of the areas that we're now going to start working on, which Andrew's going to start to concept in short order, is taking a look at the NFT assets that we've already created, these heroes, and let's actually level them up. So in order to get the upgraded versions or unlock more assets on your NFT, let's actually take the Leyline points you have, invest them into the NFT that's going to grow it over time. So we're going to have some art concepts here to basically tell that story of our NFTs will evolve. And the more you invest in it by doing good and earning it, it'll get more and more awesome and cool and animated, and get a video and get a 3D version of it. That's really the vision of what we're trying to build here. And if you click through on your hero, you'll be able to see the story of how much you've actually leveled up your NFT, and you leveled it up by doing all these good things. Like, oh, sorry, I'll show you the other mock-up over here. So yeah, you can tell the story of the Leyline points you added in, the activities you did to earn those points, and potentially the history of that from other people if you've traded that NFT. So again, this is like very high level around the type of story we want to create. All these are just really super rough mock-ups. So we have to do some proper design paths and whatnot, but this is the focus we want to try to put in there. And this is something that makes the NFT unique and special, because it's about you. It's about your story. It's about what you choose to do. And it's not about just buying some art piece from somebody else. There's actually real activity happening. There's actually social impact that's taking place. And it's now memorialized on the entire blockchain. So that's the NFT concept. And so the key is that is a mechanism to incentivize or incent good behavior in the real world. So it's explaining that in order to actually earn this thing, you can't just straight up buy it. If you want to get that story in place, you've got to do something. So let's say you're going to donate blood. The donation is actually captured in an NFT, and it's also part of the larger story of you as an individual and all of your accomplishments and achievements, all the different activities that you've done in the world is aggregated into your hero, your avatar, your digital resume for altruism. And then it goes into what badges and achievements you've made, the kind of impact relative to others, and if you're the top contributor or not, and also what else the community has done around it to make the world better too. So it's really focusing in on, we have a story behind this, which is you, and that's something that's like impossible to replicate. And so that's like a large part of the appeal, what we want to help newcomers to Leyline to understand. And particularly it's the collectors, the people that are really bought into the NFT space and are looking for projects that have actually intrinsic value baked into it. And it's not just some random money grab. That's really the focus, is really connecting these digital collectors to doing that real world good. And by focusing on these initial early adopters is what's going to spread. And as this NFT and crypto adoption continues to rise, we're in a really good position to have this credible platform in place. So that's the narrative or the story that we're working on. So putting these visuals together and giving that vision is really key for people to understand what we're trying to build towards, to choose to invest in our platform, knowing that, okay, I like the direction these guys are going. This is a really cool concept. It's not all built yet, but I believe and I like it. And so I'm going to participate. I'm going to sign up. I'm going to donate or whatever. That's really the focus that we don't really have on a website now. If you try to go to Leyline and try to understand what it is we're doing, it's actually not super clear. There's a lot of things that are going on, but it's easy for us to understand because we're working on it and building it and living and breathing it every day. But for new people, it's a bit overwhelming. And it's also just not super simple and dumb, where if we don't have their attention captured in 10 seconds, we've basically lost them. So this is a lot of the feedback that we've gotten from people that have visited a site that we're working with, that we're partnered with. And it's very helpful because it allows us to further refine what our messaging is. And in part, our messaging has been evolving over time as we've experimented and run our hypotheses and engaged with communities of different sorts. So yeah, that's kind of where we are at the moment. And we want to make sure this is all kind of squared away and clear, not just for our team, but in this big wave of people flowing into our ecosystem. So digging in a bit more into detail here. So this is, again, just like a very rough view of what the profiles will evolve into. And, essentially in this hero shot or trophy case, we have our hero. I think we're going to move from calling it avatar to hero, but anyway, I'm just testing that out. And we have our companions, we have our general items. The two pieces that we don't have implemented yet are being able to display an art piece, as well as potentially hosting audio files, because we actually have music donations coming in as NFTs. So we need a way to kind of display that in your trophy case. So the two I'll zoom in on are the art piece, because we have a major celebrity charity NFT sale, and I removed all exclusive info so we could actually publish this video. And the idea is that we are going to have this super celeb NFT connected to a community drop. So that way we're not only focusing on just, one, super rich buyer that's going to spend X amount of millions of dollars on an NFT. It's actually making sure that the whole community is involved in this whole process. So we do want to display this one art piece so that buyer can just go onto Leyline and see their art piece, see it level up over time. But what we're going to do is during the auction, which will be June 8th is when it launches, 1 week prior and 1 week after the close of the sale, anybody that comes to Leyline and signs up for an account and does one good thing will be able to get a free NFT drop. That is part of this like superset of the charity auction. So the reasoning behind that is, one, we want to involve and reward the community for this really massive and cool event and make sure that they're not excluded from this opportunity to participate. At the same time, the community will be able to level up their NFTs for the set. And in aggregate, as the whole community unlocks different achievements, it also upgrades the super NFT. So the actual buyer has an incentive to, interact with the community and to support them, because they are actually helping that buyer increase the value of their NFT. So it becomes this mutually beneficial relationship, a win-win scenario, where it's not like this divide between the super rich and like us normal people, basically. So that's the very, very high level concept here. And I'm going to pause because I'm going to go into more details and specs. But once we do that, I have to stop recording because there is very sensitive private information there that we can't get into. Any questions? Feel free to raise a hand or type in chat. All right. Nothing at all.
It makes sense.
Okay. No, Kareem, I do not think this logic will be happening in June. I think for now, it's really about building that vision. And the nice thing is it'll help us to figure out how to build our roadmap there in terms of having the right logic, functionality in place. So we don't have to rush that. I think that'd be very dangerous. But I think we can start to incrementally move in that direction. So I think that's really about working with the product engineering teams and design to figure out the right pacing. So yeah, don't panic. I am trying to be as respectful to the engineering process as much as possible. And yeah, I think that's really just the key, is knowing that, hey, this is the compass setting. This is where we really want to go with this thing. And it could take us, many, many months, or it could happen fast. It's not super clear yet, but yeah, that's the plan. So part of it is like, we want to make sure that vision is quite polished, so that way it is something we could put out in the public, and people can really respect and invest in our project. And at the same time, it gives us this really clear, at least like high level goal that we can now really start to build some specs around and start to debate whether or not some of these vision is actually feasible, or if we have to rethink how the approach here. Because some of these things may not be easy to do or even reasonable to do. So we'll probably make some adjustments and tweaks over time. But yeah, that's the aim. And if we take it one step further, as we really master the NFTs, how it levels up, having the assets baked into the NFTs and our metadata, it opens up the door for us to have these integrations with other apps and universes in the metaverse. So, having our assets available where a user can take their NFT, plug it into their Kaikus wallet, log into a place like Decentraland or Crypto Voxels, and then, go in their virtual home and plug in their hero shot right there on the wall. And their friends can come visit them, click on that, NFT and realize, whoa, in order for you to earn this, you did the big celebrity NFT auction, you level it up 3 times, you donated blood, you donated computing power, you cleaned up your beach. That's a very powerful story, and it really kind of leans into this idea of identity and social connection. And the hope is that it's all tied to something good in the real world. That's really the key. And I think the emphasis is that is actually a byproduct of the whole experience. The core experience is actually really the collecting and the identity piece. And our, underlying value is the good that you do, but it's not at the forefront. Because frankly, if all we're doing is appealing to altruists, we're going to have a very small target market. And so the objective is get all the gamers and collectors to come in, and then the byproduct of their activity is the good. And then hopefully it wakes them up, or wakes up others, and, builds up over time. That's the goal. All right. Any questions before I stop recording and jump into some of the specs around the auction?
When are we gonna have the music up and running?
I don't know. I think we don't even yet have it lined up in a priority queue or spec'd out just yet. So can't really say. But we can probably talk about it at the product planning meetings coming up. I just don't think it's going to be right away, because right now the core focus is really on getting our marketplace up and running, just at least the proof of concept. And then also the Kikeswall integration. Those are kind of the two key pieces that are, in terms of like user-facing functionality, super important. And I think once we've tackled that is when we can start to really reassess and think about, okay, how do we get more of like the evolving NFT vision implemented? So it'll take us time, and a little bit hard to predict, but that stuff we'll work on with a team.
All right. Well, whenever I'm ready to drop some music.
I know you got a lot of you could be our first music creator on the platform. And that does tie in yet to another component of the NFTs, which is actually making sure we reward creators. So this is actually a big conversation that's really moving in the whole crypto community space now that I'm really tapped into that. And, artists and musicians are really looking for ways to build their passive income. So a huge opportunity for us is that we can bake into our NFTs a secondary sale fee, where if someone takes out an NFT from Leyline and puts it up on OpenSea, for example, in the smart contract, we can apply, say, a 1% or 2% transaction fee on that secondary sale. So if someone else sold that NFT, the original creator, the artist, can get a cut of that. And it could just be a tiny fraction, but in aggregate, all of their works become this passive income, essentially royalties for all the work that they did. So, a big part of the vision here is that we want to have this space where a creator like Andrew, for example, gets to, be made visible. If someone loves the NFT and their artwork, to be like, man, who created this? Oh man, it's Andrew Dorland. Okay, let me go check out his portfolio, his website. It's pretty freaking awesome. Let me buy more of his stuff. And if not, at least automatically, Andrew would get 1% of somebody that wants to sell it for like $100 or something like that. So these are possible now in the blockchain world because you could just bake in that logic into the smart contract. There's no intermediaries needed. There's no like contracts to be signed or whatever. It just happens. So I think that's also the goal, is that as we have more and more creators and artists donating their work into our NFT ecosystem, it becomes a way for them to get exposure and for them to start to build a business out of it. So yeah, I think like this concept is hugely beneficial for so many people. And I think like the ability to create those opportunities for artists and musicians is so key as well. And there's a lot of momentum behind that. So there's tons of folks that are very interested in making this happen. Chris, you got a hand raise?
Yeah, I wanted to just share the thing that I'm most excited about recently is the concept of enhancing the NFTs with Leyline points, because that gives people an option to do short-term rewards with a prize pool and then long-term investment rewards. Because if you think about most investing in life, you can only invest with money and then you're at the whim of the market. You actually can enhance your investment in this case while also adding value to the creator, because the more you pump up your NFT, the more royalties they'll get. So it's such a win-win ecosystem.
I totally agree. And I think you have this choice to say, you know what, I'm just going to put my points towards like trying to get as many gift cards as I can because I don't care about the collecting stuff. But then you have the collectors, which are like, oh man, you know what, I love my profile. I love seeing like all the good that I've done with this NFT. And man, it looks so cool. But you know what, I want to level this thing up and I want to make it as animated like this over here. Can you guys see the screen? Like, how cool is that to like pour in 1,000 Leyline points and I can activate the animated cape and my, glowing background. These are things that collectors and gamers love to do. They love to have these aesthetics because they're spending so much time in a digital world that, they want to kind of represent their avatar as such. Which is why I love my personal ninja here. It's my second favorite hero. My first is a jester, which I don't have. So yeah, much love, Andrew. You do amazing work. All right, great questions. What was I going to say? Oh yeah. So related to the whole creators and artists earning money off of their NFTs, I'm part of a number of groups now, and we're starting to pull together all these different communities. And one of the big problems that I want to try and solve is how do we get all these marketplaces to support the secondary sale fee infrastructure? And the challenge is we have all these different blockchains and different platforms and different formats. So one of the objectives with this consortium is, let's just write a white paper and say, here is a proposed standard. If everyone just leverages this one standard, all the artists and creators, no matter what platform that they're on, has this transportable protocol where they could just, put an art piece. They don't have to worry about doing it in 100 different marketplaces, and it just works. So those are the kind of challenges we're trying to solve as a crypto community. And now that all these developers are really trying to come together and work together, there's a ton of momentum around that. So we are kind of at the forefront of this discussion, and it could lead to something really awesome. So we're really just at the beginning of this, but there's a ton of energy and excitement coming in behind it. And again, we've got to keep pace, and it'll take time to figure out. But I think making sure those alliances are in place, like a really good vision, and the beginnings of some specifications and protocols are going to be very, very key for us. And this will probably play out for the next 6 to 12 months. But it's a wonderful place to be, and a wonderful future to be in as well. So yeah, Andrew, the goal is we're gonna get you those 1% secondary sale fees all your NFTs.
Sounds good.
And Christine too. All amazing work you guys are doing. Okay, Ed, other questions before I swap over to Specs and stop the recording?
Kind of related to what you were just saying. I was wondering if there is a plan for an artist journey on the Leyline platform, like buyer/seller, and having like another journey for the seller, which in here I'm more referring to the artist, and being able to like create their own storefront and being able to like have their own page and profile pages on Leyline, stuff like that.
I think it's possible, though. I think the thing is that most of that already exists like on those existing marketplaces, like OpenSea, for example. So artists already have a venue to create their storefronts. I think the challenge is where do their NFTs proliferate to, and then whether or not they want to create storefronts there as well. So if there's a big demand for that, I think it could make sense. But haven't really thought through that, to be honest. There's certainly potential there. But I do think that it's going to be those like marketplaces that really hone in on that type of experience in the same way that like Shopify does that, which isn't really our realm of expertise. So I think we'd like to be a gateway to that where possible. And the main way is that you just export your NFTs to your wallet and then just go to whatever marketplace you like best. So then if we build good compatibility across all of those, then we're good to go. So I think that's really the opportunity, is making sure we just try to open up access as much as possible versus trying to build in everything into our closed ecosystem. And minimize how much is closed on our side. I think the more we open it up, then people are kind of free to take their NFTs and set up shop wherever they like. And hopefully it'll be on Leyline too. Great question. All right. Go once, going twice. Okay, now we're going to get into some juicy stuff. Sorry, guys. Stop recording.